welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you my full coverage foundation routine. Now, this is not something that I typically do on a regular basis. This is something that I will do on days where I have a special event to attend, or on days where I'm going out like on a dinner date with my husband, or on days where I really just want full coverage. This is what I will do. So if you're interested in seeing my full coverage foundation routine, then just keep watching. Okay, so before I get started, I always make sure that I have a nice moisturized face because I just feel like my makeup application is a lot better when I do have moisture on my face as opposed to when it's a little bit more on the dry side. So after moisturizing my face, the next thing that I always do is I make sure that I wear a primer underneath my makeup. So on days where it's going to be a really long day and I'm going to be wearing heavy foundation or, full coverage type of foundation, I want to get the most out of that foundation. And in order to do so, I feel like a primer is key. I personally use one of two different primers just depending on how I want my foundation or my skin to look that day. When I want a more luminizing glow, I usually wear my Smashbox Photo Finish Illuminizing Primer underneath my makeup. But on days where, I don't necessarily want that extra glow, then I will usually go in with my Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. Both primers are really super silky. They make your face feel a lot smoother, and therefore the makeup application I feel goes on a lot smoother. For today, I am going to be using just the Photo Finish Primer. So just applying some of that. I usually just grab it on my clean hands. So then I just take it in between my fingers and then just apply it onto my face, kind of all over the place, really. So now after getting my whole face base nice and ready, I actually start applying actual makeup. Now this next step you can absolutely skip. Obviously not everybody needs color correcting, but as you can see, I definitely do. My dark circles are pretty obvious. They're pretty there, and so I tend to like to cover them up, especially when I'm going after full coverage. For today, I am going to be doing the brightening color corrector. I just take it on my P84, which is a precision angled brush, and just pat it underneath the eye. I'm all about patting as opposed to like dragging. I just feel like that is going to give you the best coverage and the more like, I guess, natural looking finish. I mean, makeup's not natural, but you know what I mean. Just makes it look nicer. And so I simply just pat it onto the under eye area. And I go up in between, like here, up the side of my nose as well, like around my tear duct a little bit, because I do find that I get a little bit dark around there as well. So kind of just covering the whole area. For full coverage foundation, I really love to use the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation just because, one, I feel like I get the most coverage with the least amount of product, and two, I just really like the longevity of the foundation. I usually put it on the back of my hand, and the way that I work it into my skin is I work it in sections just so that I know that I'm getting full coverage, because I used to just kind of like just dab foundation all over my face and then just go in with the Beauty Blender all over my face. But I don't like doing that so much anymore because I was feeling like I was leaving like patches, and obviously like you don't want patches all around your face, and it wasn't really noticeable until I would get out and about. So what I do now is I just work in sections. So I start off with my cheeks, since they're obviously the biggest sections of my face, and just dab some all around. And then just go in with the Beauty Blender and just pat it in. And just working it into the skin, making sure that I get like toward my ear so that you don't see a line from here, the foundation going here, and then nothing going on this side. So making sure that I work it back and down your neck. And then I go in and I go on the other cheek and then work it in. On my nose, I have some freckles there that I like to cover up, and this foundation works so well. I make sure to avoid the under eye area because since I don't like to add product on top of product on top of product, that is why I leave it. And instead of adding foundation and then adding concealer, I just go in with a really heavy concealer, and that'll take care of that without adding too many layers. Then I go back on top of my nose because you can definitely layer this foundation and make it work for you very, very well. To get rid of the freckles there, and then I don't know if you guys can see it, but, or you probably saw it before I started with the foundation, but I do have like a sunspot here. It's either a sunspot or an age spot. I can't figure it out, but I like to cover that up. And then I just go back one more time, make sure that I've worked the foundation into the skin. For concealer today, I'm going to be using the best concealer, most long-wearing concealer that I've ever personally have used. I've yet to run into something that's as intense in coverage and as long-wearing as the MAC Pro Longwear concealer. This is in the shade NC35. Oh yeah, and my foundation was in the shade Wheat, in case you were wondering. I will put everything down in the description bar like I tend to do for most of my videos. I do forget sometimes, but anyway. So just taking one simple pump of that, taking my ring finger, running it through the concealer, and then with whatever I pick up on my ring finger, that's what I will work with underneath my eye. And then just patting it onto the entire under eye area. And of course up the corner a little bit. I want to get as close to the lash line as possible, so just working that up and then around the under eye area. It's taking the very last bit of it that is left over on the back of my hand. I've placed it around the outer portion of my nose, since I do tend to get pretty red there throughout the day. I think we all do. I'm going to go in with my beauty blender and then just dab any of the excess away. So I try to be really gentle and really light-handed as to not move any of the product too much around. And then of course, in order to avoid any creasing, I will go in with a setting powder. At the moment, I am using one of two. I'm using either the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, not to be confused with the Laura Mercier Translucent Powder that I just absolutely can't get into. I do not like this one at all. Another powder that I really love to set with is the RCMA No Color Powder. That is the one that I'm going to be using for today. That is the one that I've kind of been using on a regular basis. So I tend to just grab it with my beauty blender. When you first pick it up with the beauty blender, it picks up quite a bit. So what I do is I just kind of shake off the excess so that it leaves me with just a nice thin layer and I don't have to worry about it being too thick. You want to look straight up and then lightly dab it underneath the eye. Okay, so after setting, what I like to do is kind of just warm up the face a little bit with a little bit of contour or bronzing powder. For this particular look, I'm going to be using the Hoola Benefit bronzer, and I just go really light-handed with this around the hollows of my cheeks. Next, I want to add some blush. The blush that I have been favoring, if you've watched any of my recent videos, you know it's the Baked Blush from Milani in the shade Luminoso. So just going in with that. For highlight, I really love to use the highlight from the Master Contour palette. This is the light medium palette, and just apply some highlight onto the tops of my cheeks. And that is it for now. I just figured that I needed to show you guys exactly how I get like a full coverage base. So not including the brows, the eyes, or the lips. I will be doing that off camera and I will come back to finish it off. Okay, so now I'm back with brows done, eyes done, and I just threw on a little bit of lip gloss. The very last thing that I will do in order to set my foundation or to hydrate my foundation, depending on what I need for that particular day, is a spray. So this is a setting spray. This is the Urban Decay All Nighter. This is an actual setting spray that's going to make your makeup stay in place all day long. This one is a hydrating spray. This is the MAC Fix Plus, so it's not a setting spray. It is just used for hydration. So it's definitely going to absorb any of the powder that has been put on top of your skin and make you just feel hydrated. So depending on what I need for that particular day, that is what I will go for. Sometimes I'll use this and then I'll use this. I mean, it just depends on what you need. For today, I am going to be using the hydration just because I feel like my skin needs it, and call it a day. One tip though, definitely exhale as you're spraying because you won't like it if you inhale. So that is it. I really hope that you all enjoyed my full coverage routine and that it was helpful or useful in some way. As always, take care, and I will see you all in my next video. Mwah! Bye.
Grasping into life is happy.